All right, so welcome to the Small Town and Rural Students College Network Rural Student Panel. The Small Town and Rural College Network is a partnership of 32 universities and colleges that are across the United States and are all committed to helping rural students like yourselves access college and provide support through the college application and then into while you're in college. So this support can vary. We offer free virtual college access programming like this panel tonight. There will be other ones throughout the year on adulting, etc. We also travel to rural and small town communities. So you might see some of us STARS representatives coming to your school to meet with students or counselors. We provide programming on our college campuses. So we'll have fly-in or drive-in programs where students can come and visit for free and learn more about what it's like to experience college on a college campus. And finally, there are internship opportunities. So we have partnerships that help rural students and small town students find and access ambassador programs, job opportunities in internships, and then full-time opportunities as well. So my name is Hannah Hartnett. I'm just moderating this tonight. I am the representative from Colby College, but on our panel tonight, we have 4 students from 4 different colleges who were all rural students like yourselves. So we'll start out with their brief introductions. If you all want to start with who you are, where you're from, where you're going, and maybe a brief overview of your college application process.
I can start things out. So my name is McKenna Riley. I go to the University of Wisconsin-Madison. I'm a senior studying biochemistry with a certificate in health and the humanities. I'm from Rockland, Wisconsin, a tiny little town of less than 1,000, named after the big rock in the center of our town. Oh yeah, along with my major, I am planning to go into the medical field, so I'm on a pre-med track. And being a rural student is a really big part of my degree, of my interests. I'm involved with a lab on campus, as my photo shows, with corn. I have another job on campus dealing with engaging with rural high school students. And with my degree, I really hope to provide medical expertise back into these rural towns from where I was from.
I can go next. Hi, everyone. My name is Chris Tardy. I'm a sophomore at Colby College, and I'm from Washburn, Maine, a small town in northern Maine with a population of about 1,500 students. I went to Washburn District High School, which had right around 90 students, and I graduated with 23. I'm studying physics, currently on the pre-med track, where I hope to implement medicine into helping rural communities. I've recently completed a research project on access to healthcare in rural communities, specifically focusing on cardiovascular mortality rates.
Hi guys, my name is Emily Farmer. I am a second semester freshman at Brown University. I'm studying political science and sociocultural anthropology. So I was in your shoes less than a year ago. Um, I'm a very rural student from a small town named Kennard, Texas. There was less than 300 people in my entire town, and my graduating class had 12. Um, During my college application process, I was really unsure of like where to search because most people in my hometown didn't really go to college. I'm actually the only woman in my class who decided to pursue higher education. Um, it was a super big transition from rural Texas to a significantly larger school in New England, but I'm doing really well here now. I'm not really entirely sure if I'm going to stay with my concentrations. I've changed a few times this last couple semesters, but we'll just kind of see where the next few years take me.
Hi everyone, I'm Jack Cullum. I'm a junior studying communication at the University of Maryland in College Park, so super close to DC, Washington, DC. I'm from Chestertown, Maryland, which is on Maryland's Eastern Shore. I only had about one high school, one middle school in my county. We're the smallest county in the state. I graduated with about 110 people in my class. And my college application process was pretty simple, but I knew I wanted to go into like a city environment and far, like different than what I was used to growing up. Post grad, I'm not too sure what I want to do, but I do know I would like to stay in the city environment, even if it's not directly in the city, a suburb would be nice.
All right, great. Thank you all. So I have some questions here that we'll start out asking our panelists, but if you all in the audience have questions, you're encouraged to put them at any point, even already at this point, if you have something in the Q&A box, and we can monitor those and make sure that we're asking them along the way so that we answer what you're really here to hear. So feel free to put those in the box. Otherwise, you all started to touch on this, but we'll start with, did you face any challenges in applying to schools because of your location?
Yeah, so for me, it was more so a lot of people in my high school were not pursuing higher education as well. A lot of them were going into either the trades or just right back into their family farm. And so I didn't really have a whole lot of community access for people that had gone through this process. So a lot of this was really new to me, and probably the most confusing part was, well, the most challenging part was just how confusing the application was and how to get the ball rolling.
Yeah, so for me, I'd say coming from a rural area, one of the biggest challenges was the lack of exposure to different colleges. My school had limited resources for college counseling, and I couldn't just drive to campuses whenever I wanted, living at the top of Maine. But fly-in programs and financial assistance were really the only ways I could experience schools firsthand. So without those, I really just had to rely on online research, which is really not the same as being there in person.
So very similar to McKenna. A lot of people back home just went to trade school or joined the military or decided to work on their like family farms. Very few people decided to pursue higher education, and the few that did all went to local universities. Um, and I couldn't really ask my like high school teachers for a whole lot of advice because most of them went to local universities as well, or they received their degrees online. So a lot of the research I did was online, and I received some college-related information in the mail pretty frequently, but it was just a lot of like self-work.
My answer is going to be a little bit different than everyone else's so far, but I had a really great relationship with a college counselor in my area. And so she helped me kind of like get a jump start on my college application process. I'd say like my junior year of high school, which was like 2021 coming out of COVID. And then I also had an older sibling who was attending the University of Maryland in College Park. And so I had kind of like experienced the college culture a little bit already, and I knew what that was like from his experiences and what I had heard from him, but also just like what I knew or like, what I liked and what I didn't like. So
What student support services or resources did you rely on to ease your transition into college, as especially as a rural student, but also in general?
So for UW-Madison, when you get accepted and you're filling out your uh, preferences for your dorm locations, they have something called learning communities. And basically, it can be a grouping of people, whether it be interests of majors or hobbies or backgrounds, and they are located in some of the dorms. And for me, there was one called Biohouse, and it was a grouping of biology majors. And so that really helped ease me into the college going process because it was a very tight-knit group of people that I could talk to about whatever challenges I had. There were mentors, there were professors there that I could ask questions whenever I was confused with, for example, a lecture location or just getting used to the Canvas webpage because our school never really used that. So for me, it was really just the introductory programs that UW-Madison offered us that really helped ease that transition process.
Yeah, so for me at Colby College, I'd say I relied mostly on the Fly at Colby program, which is first generation and low income students, which wouldn't apply to all or only rural students, but I'd assume it applies to most of us. And it was a program where I came to visit campus a week before orientation to get settled in with things, and really it helped a lot on getting into the campus environment and feeling comfortable here on campus. There were a lot of support services from upperclassmen as well as advisors to help me navigate the college process. And it's a community where there's other students like me that I was able to just build instant connections with people who shared similar backgrounds as me. So I'd say I relied mostly on that program during my transition to college.
So I actually was involved with a program very similar to Christopher's. It was this fantastic group called the Bridge Scholars Program, and it allowed me to have 4 weeks of online virtual classes before I moved onto campus. And so I got the opportunity to connect with other scholars who were from similar backgrounds as me as a first-gen low-income student. Um, and then we got to move onto campus 2 weeks early. We had access to peer counselors who were upperclassmen. We were exposed to all of Lake Brown's resources. We had panels with financial boards. Um, Another really great group that helped me with my transition was actually the rural students program at Brown. They were all super welcoming. One of the heads is actually what we have, or what we call Bruno leaders, which are upperclassmen who during orientation help freshmen adjust to campus, answer questions, that sort of thing. And we also have this really great center called the UFly Center, which is undocumented first and low income center. And they provide support for anyone who falls under that umbrella. And we also have the Sheridan Center for Learning, which offers writing and tour or tutoring services. So those all helped me.
Very similar to McKenna's answer, we also have like living communities at College Park, and so when you apply, you might get like invited to apply to these living communities. And I was invited to apply to the Honors College, which had its own like dormitory. So it was all freshmen and sophomores. The sophomores had already completed the program, and so they were kind of like the mentors for the freshmen when they moved on campus. And then I would also say just like joining clubs and like getting involved on campus, you meet new people, it helps with the transition. I tried, or like I did that freshman year, and I would say it helped out a ton.
We're getting some Q&A about kind of going back to the application process a little. So firstly, living in a small town for high school, did your schools provide extracurricular opportunities, or were you seeking various extracurriculars outside of what was available at your high school?
So for me, it was yes to both. My high school only really provided extracurriculars. So, the classic of volleyball, basketball, softball, that sort of stuff. There really wasn't a whole lot of extracurriculars for non-athletic stuff. So we didn't have a science club or anything like that. And when I was a junior in high school, we got informed of this program at one of our local colleges called the Health Science Academy. And so I was fortunate enough to participate in that. So for me, it was a bit of doing extracurriculars both at my own high school and then also being involved in this Health Science Academy outside of high school.
My situation was very similar to McKenna's. At my high school, it was really focused around sports because we didn't have a great enough student population to venture off into different clubs and organizations. But I found myself most active in the Boy Scouts of America, where attained my Eagle Scout rank. And I found that to be a really fulfilling extracurricular in the sense that I got to serve my community. I participated in over 700 hours of community service during high school, and I find that I carry those values with me into college, which has really helped me in navigating the process.
Although my high school was very, very small, I feel like we had quite an abundance of extracurricular opportunities. I was involved in a lot of different things in high school. I was on the various sports teams. I played softball, volleyball. I was in FFA, which I'm sure very many of you can relate to. 4-H. Texas does this thing called the University Interscholastic League. So I was in various competitions through that. I competed with theater. I did one act play. I did some science academic competitions. I also did some writing ones as well. Is that kind of
Along the same lines, I mean, we had sports. I was a triple threat athlete throughout my high school career. But then also I was involved in like the Rotary high school version club, so which was basically like community service. We would do like boxed lunches for like kids when school was out, or just doing like trash pickup at the local beach or the local like national park, whatever it was. Um, so I think we did have quite a few different clubs, National Honor Society, FFA, 4-H, all those. So I think we had a good amount to choose from, but mostly it was sports too.
When did you all find out about the Stars College Network and become involved with the network? Did you use it in your application process? Did you find out about it once you got to college?
Yeah, so I only found out about this program when I got involved with one of my jobs on campus, the College for Rural Wisconsin. I really wish I had been aware of this program when I was in high school because it would have made my selection process and just kind of learning about college in general so much easier. But it was once I got to college that I was made aware of what this program is.
Similar to McKenna, I actually only found out about this program a couple weeks ago when I was invited to serve as a student representative for Colby College. I found out about it through my job in admissions. Um, but similar to McKenna, I do wish I would have known about this program when I was in high school. I believe it would have helped me extensively on the college process journey in selecting my schools and actually exploring my options in a more integrated way.
so very similar to Christopher. I actually just found out about this a few weeks ago when I was invited by one of my rural student upperclassmen to speak on this panel. But I really wish I had access to the resources that STARS would have provided to me during high school. So yeah.
I found out about it a few weeks ago when my STARS representative from College Park shot me a text. I had a like former professional relationship with them in high school through a different organization, like a community-based organization. And then now she works for admissions at College Park. And so just knowing that it's available, I think it'll be a huge help to freshman students and or incoming students, I guess. It doesn't have to be freshmen, but I wish like I would have taken advantage of it.
Okay, so spinning off of that, you all say that you wish you had that advice. Knowing about the network now and having gone through the application process yourself, is there a piece of advice that you would give to the students today that you could help them through the process with?
Definitely reach out to someone you trust if you have any questions at all. You don't have to do this alone. When I went through the application, I felt like I didn't have anyone that I could turn to, so I kind of tried to truck through the application, and that just made it way more confusing for me. So definitely reach out to someone that you trust with any and all questions that you have with your application process, no matter how stupid you may think it is.
I didn't have a lot of support for the college process during high school. And so it felt honestly very isolating. And it was a very, it was an interesting time in my life for sure. Um, I, I would agree. I think reaching out to current students at the college or admissions counselors, finding any way to learn more through direct contact would be super helpful in high school because you're hearing from real people with real experiences who can come from similar backgrounds as you.
I think the biggest thing is to reach out for support because in a place where you don't see a lot of other people going through the similar process as you, it can feel very isolating. But even if the people that you reach out for support haven't gone through the process themselves. Having emotional and social support through this process is really beneficial. And it takes a huge amount of stress off your shoulders. And if you have access to people who have gone through these experiences, now that you have access to the STARS network, I would.
I would say I don't want to make this sound like you should start like super early, but don't like lollygag with your time when it comes to applying to college. Like take your time to do the research and like try to pick a school that you think is going to be good for you, but also know that you can always change your mind and you can always pivot in your life. Like you don't have to just stick with something because that's what you chose at 18 years old coming out of college or coming out of high school. Um, I mean, tons of people transfer, tons of people switch their majors or minors, whatever. But just know like you don't have to stick with that even if you don't like it. Like you can always pivot and redirect yourself.
Okay, so next, what were the scholarships that you applied for? How did you find them? How many did you apply for? Anything else you'd like to share about the scholarship piece?
For me, I know I should have been applying to more while I was in college, but uh, mainly it was my senior year of high school when I started to apply for scholarships. And a lot of them were through the extracurricular events. Our school sponsors a couple of scholarships based on extracurriculars or some of the local organizations. And they sent out an email, I want to say probably fall, if not like early winter, about these scholarship opportunities. And that was how I applied for the majority of them. I think I applied for anywhere between like 10 and 15. But definitely when you get to college, double check to make sure your college has a scholarship hub. UW-Madison has a fantastic scholarship hub for all grades of students that would be a phenomenal resource for applying for different scholarships here.
And let me jump in before we continue. I should have included this. Someone added in the chat, how do you apply for financial aid? So through your institution, officially financial aid, if you want to speak on that, and then additionally scholarships.
It was mainly scholarships for me, just because no one in my family was really aware of financial aid, and I was not aware of what financial aid opportunities that Madison had. Thankfully now they have a lot of newsletters. So definitely when you are looking through your college searches and narrowing down which colleges you would like to go to, if you simply look up online, for example, UW-Madison financial aid packages, there are a bunch of resources online that can point you in the right direction of which financial aid package would be best for you.
So I won't speak to any scholarship applications during college because I haven't had to take advantage of those just yet. But in high school, I applied to three major scholarships that are specific to Maine, which I found out because uh, most of the schools around me, as well as my high school, those were the major scholarships that everyone was trying to go for. I'm a Mitchell Scholar, a Ricker Scholar, and a Worthington Scholar, which sums up to about $10,000 per year over 4 years, which I'm very fortunate and thankful to have. But other than that, I applied to Colby, which has incredible financial aid. So I had to submit the FAFSA form and a CES profile form, which includes a lot of tax documents. And it's a tedious process that it's a little bit painful, but it's worth it because due to the financial aid I've received through filling those out, I'm currently attending Colby for free.
So, from my personal experience, my high school didn't have a significant amount of scholarship resources available. So, I didn't actually end up applying to any scholarships until my senior year. Um, and I mainly applied to local scholarships, but the smaller ones do add up. But Brown University is a need-based institution. So, depending on how much financial aid you need, they will provide. You just filled out the FAFSA and all the other financial aid documents that you need. And I personally am on full financial aid and pay absolutely nothing out of pocket to attend. Um,
the state of Maryland offers a few scholarships through the delegates and the senators. And so those are renewable for 4 years every year. And so I've applied to and got all of those. So those are small, but they add up, like Emily said. And then in addition to the FAFSA and the financial aid that college or University of Maryland provides, um, I mean, it's a great, like they provide also need-based. And so I'm currently attending College Park with no loans and nothing out of pocket, which is awesome. But just finding out about some of those opportunities, whether you see it on the website or get an email about it, or after you enroll in the university, they might give you like next steps and how you may be able to lower your bill a little bit. But I would also say for scholarships, even if it has an essay, just write the essay. Like it's not gonna hurt too much for a little bit of money. So I would say take advantage of everything that you have available to you. Um,
Is there anything else that you wish your high school self either knew or could do to prepare for yourself in college? Not necessarily for the application process, but for being on a college campus.
For me, the biggest thing is just it's okay to make mistakes. In high school, I was kind of like trained to be, that like solid A student, 100%, or like nothing but 100% type of thing. And when you get to college, it's a completely different ball game. You will make mistakes, you will fail. And that was honestly one of my biggest hurdles to overcome, was just kind of accepting that I'm not going to be ace every test. I'm not going to be perfect on everything, and that is entirely okay. And use those mistakes, learn from them, and kind of grow from those mistakes.
For me, I'd say it's to not let where you come from make you feel like you don't belong at any particular school. There are so many resources out there, and every opportunity that is available to you, you deserve and should be taking advantage of. Like fly-in programs, connecting with current students, like on panels like this, and not being afraid to ask for help is a huge part of fitting into college. That could be from either teachers, counselors, or online communities. Um, I'd say that college is a big adjustment to your life and everything, really. But your background is unique and brings that unique perspective that can help you thrive in an environment like this.
My biggest piece of advice is probably allowing yourself to just kind of step back and relax sometimes. College is a whirlwind. There's a lot going on, clubs, extracurriculars, um, classes, and it's really easy to get caught up in everything you're doing and not take care of yourself. So reaching out for support when needed, and schedule time just for yourself.
I saw someone mention it in the Q&A already, but I think taking advantage of dual enrollment courses in high school is a huge help, or at least it was for me, because I think I took three dual enrollment courses while I was in high school, and those kind of prepped me for what a college course schedule was like, which is much different than a high school course or even an AP class. It gets you used to the exams, it gets you used to the way that professors teach, and not all about one AP exam at the end of May when you're taking five AP exams right within a week of each other. Now there are still midterm and final weeks in college, but it's not going to be as stressful and as like put together as AP exams. So I would just say if you have the opportunity to take dual enrollment courses, they were a huge help for me, and they kind of eased that transition from high school to college.
All right. So what helped you either socially and or academically find your place or sense of belonging on your campus?
I mentioned previously that I was involved in sports when I was in high school. Specifically, I was involved like from very young elementary school all the way through high school. And honestly, going to a lot of the sporting events on campus, I'm a really big volleyball fan. And so going to those events and interacting with a lot of people there really kind of helped ease me into college and find a lot of people that I could communicate with and just talk to people like outside of school stuff, just having fun.
I'm gonna bring up yes theory and seek discomfort because I'm a huge fan and I always try to stick true to their message of getting outside of your comfort zone and maybe meeting people who are completely different from you, don't always share the same interests. It can be it's a great opportunity to meet some people that just are incredible. Specifically, I'm a part of the club volleyball team, which is not what I did in high school at all. And I never thought I'd be playing volleyball. But immediately I went to practice because a friend invited me, and I fell in love with the community that was there. It was just, it was a great opportunity for me to meet so many different people of all different levels of skill where I was not good at volleyball, but they welcomed me right away to compete and have fun with it. So now I'm currently on the competitive men's team where I travel, and I'm a close knit community with my teammates where I hang out with them regularly and we'll go out for dinner on the weekends. It's so yeah, I'd say stick true to yourself and don't be afraid to get out there, put yourself out there.
Honestly, all of the resources that I previously mentioned have given me some really great communities, and support and connections that I still maintain to this day. Like all of the other scholars that were in my pre-orientation program, the Bridge Scholars Program, I still talk to all the time. Um, my Rural Students Club at Brown has also given me a lot of really great connections and support. I've met a lot of people who are from very similar backgrounds as me, rural students, and also like rural school students, which has been really wonderful.
Joining clubs and interacting with people that you may not usually interact with, coming from such small towns. I joined clubs pretty much my first week on campus, just putting myself outside of my comfort zone. I knew that it wasn't going to be easy, but that's what college is. Like it's never easy. And just not like isolating yourself, asking for help, um, like communicating with others, attending sporting events, going to club meetings, going to like classes, just you're gonna meet people everywhere you go pretty much. And so just being open to that and not being like isolated, I guess.
Jumping back a little bit, Jack, you were touching on the dual enrollment courses. Did any of you come from high schools that didn't offer AP or honors or dual enrollment classes? Emily, yes. Do you have any tips for how you chose classes in high school and how you navigated that?
For a lot of my like core classes, we didn't really have a whole lot of variety. We didn't have like honors classes. We didn't have AP, we didn't have IB, but my school did offer dual enrollment with a local university. So a lot of my junior and senior year classes were the majority of them were online because I did them through the local university, and that was really helpful.
Like similar to Emily, I did most of my college classes online. We had honors and AP classes, but I kind of realized like I didn't want to put myself through AP exams come May when I was trying to graduate like the following week. And so college class, like the dual enrollment classes ended with the college schedule. So it was like the beginning of May rather than the end of May. And so I got like a pretty good month break between my senior spring semester and then graduation. And so I was able to enjoy that a little bit before I actually had to move in and move on campus. Um, but the dual enrollment classes were a huge help. I took honors classes, but it was all during COVID, so I can't really speak to that too much.
How did you decide which schools to apply for? And in that application process, how did you decide to frame your essays? Either a personal statement or maybe supplemental essays if you had any.
Yeah, so for deciding on what school I wanted to apply for, I knew I wanted to stay in state. I really love the state of Wisconsin. I love the nature as much as the weather is not the greatest outside right now. I love the weather. I love everything regarding Wisconsin. I knew I wanted to go into the medical field. And so I looked up online best colleges for medicine, Wisconsin, and UW-Madison came up consistently as one of the top in Wisconsin. And so that's kind of how I chose which one I wanted to go for. And then for the essays, I looked online to see what the core values of UW-Madison are, what sort of amenities are offered at UW-Madison, and I made sure to include those into my essay. And then for my one of the personal essays of why do you want to go to Madison, I touched on how sports were a big part of my growing up, both in the sense of for my community, and then also my family are Badger families for hockey, for basketball, for football, for pretty much everything. And so I made sure to really touch on that of how I fell in love with this school at a very young age, and I really want to keep up that Badger spirit through my college going process here.
For me, in selecting which schools to apply to, I've always known that I want to go into medicine and I planned on being a pre-med student. So my focus was really just on applying to different high ranking schools around the country. Of course, I ended up at Colby because of the incredible financial aid and because I'm a little biased to stay in Maine. I love it here, the environment and the nature we have around us. But for the essays, I talked mostly about how I worked over 24 hours per week during high school. And in the summers, I would work over 40 hours per week to help support my family financially and to pretty much prepare myself for a better life in college. I was able to save up a lot of money while helping my family to stay financially sound. So I talked a lot about that and how I want to implement that into my life goals in pursuing medicine.
Quite opposite to both of your answers. I knew that I did not want to stay in the state of Texas. I didn't end up applying to any schools in the state. All of them were out. I applied through the Questbridge Scholars Match Program. So I only ended up applying to schools in their network. I applied to 15. Pertaining to my personal statement essay, I think I just really framed it around my background and how being from a rural place has shaped me as a person, with my communities and the support from the people around me, and how that has led me to be ambitious and pursue the things that I'm currently pursuing.
I only applied to 6 schools. I didn't really know where I wanted to go. I only applied to 2 in state and then the rest are out of state, as far down as Florida. So I was kind of clueless when it came to my college application, like where I wanted to go. But then when I got into all of the schools and I got the financial aid back, that was a huge factor in my decision, just because of how expensive the out-of-state tuition was. And so then I was down to Towson and University of Maryland. I visited both campuses. I had known that I liked University of Maryland because my brother had been there. And so he was graduating. He was going to be a senior when I was a freshman. And so that kind of played a big part in me attending College Park. And so just being on the same campus again as him uh, was awesome. And then when it came to my essays, I talked about my sports communities in high school and growing up, and then also some of the community service aspects that I served. I kind of just touched on like the values that I wanted to instill and like ingrain in myself throughout my life. And so I guess that worked, but
This next one's specifically for Emily. Wondering about any tips you have for moving to a college that's far away. The person that put it in the chat said they live 5 hours away from the nearest large airport.
I have a very similar experience to you. I believe the nearest airport for me was 3.5 hours. Um, but I'm sorry, what was the question again?
Just any tips for moving to a college that's very far away from your hometown.
So for me, I think that it was like a very scary experience for me at first. I was very worried that moving to a place that's 1,700 miles from home, it's a 26-hour drive from my hometown. I was gonna be completely on my own. It was really overwhelming. But finding communities with similar backgrounds as yours has been one of the biggest transitional pieces that has helped me. Without them, I don't know where I would be. So find people that have similar backgrounds as yours, join communities and clubs, and just connect with people.
Okay, this might be for you again, Emily. I'm not sure if any others are QuestBridge scholars, but how can you speak a little bit more about how that affected your application process?
So I think QuestBridge is quite different than if you applied through the Common App or through your regular process. Um, if anybody doesn't know what QuestBridge is an organization that helps first-gen low-income students apply to prestigious universities. They have this program called the QuestBridge Match Program, and essentially you can apply up to 15 schools, and through ED, and based off how you rank them and which colleges accept you, you get matched to that university. Um, and QuestBridge, yeah, that's pretty much it about QuestBridge.
What misconceptions about college would you like to debunk for rural high school students?
I think one of them is just that honestly, like there's a narrative out there that college isn't meant for rural students, and I would say that's the farthest from the truth. Uh, I know so many of the labs on campus here are involved with rural communities. So many people from rural backgrounds come to college and absolutely love it. And just basically, college is 100% a place for you, and don't let anyone else tell you that it isn't.
Yeah, I agree. I think one of the biggest misconceptions is that students from small town and rural areas won't fit in at more competitive schools, when in reality, students of all kinds of backgrounds fit in here. And there are many programs and communities that help make the transition easier. I'd say another misconception is that financial aid won't make college affordable. But as you can see from us four, uh, that's just untrue. There are so many schools like Colby, which I could speak to, that offer generous aid, need-based aid, and it makes private colleges sometimes more affordable than attending public state universities.
I agree. I think a very common misconception is that um, rural students don't belong at higher education institutions. I definitely felt that way when I first got here. I felt a lot of imposter syndrome, and I feel like very many people feel very similarly. I didn't feel prepared at all, but you are academically prepared. You are good enough to be here. And after a few semesters, I think that you'll realize that yourself.
Along the same lines, I would say that I feel like a lot of people think that they aren't smart enough to be at a big university or even a smaller like university, coming from a small town area rurally. And so I think just accepting the fact that you got into the school, they accepted you, you have the transcript and you have the maybe not extracurriculars, but you might have some of the community service events, or you might have some other things that you can speak about. You have those things for a reason, and just kind of embrace that idea of being true to yourself and you got accepted for a reason. And so just be yourself and don't think that you aren't enough.
What was your what was a positive surprise that you experienced when you went to college? Could be big or even a little small thing.
Honestly, with just how friendly people here at college, well, yeah, how friendly people here are at Madison. Uh, I was very, very nervous getting into my first class because it was a lecture hall with over 400 people, which my high school only had a population of 200. So it was a very big shift. I was worried that I wouldn't have anyone to talk to, that no one would kind of like come up to me, or I would be too scared to talk to anyone. And immediately as I sat down, the person right next to me turned to me and asked what my name was, where I was from, and we just kind of had a nice conversation. And 3 years later, they're one of my closest friends on campus. So people are super, super friendly, and everyone is here to talk and make friends.
My answer is going to be really similar. I think one of the scariest things about leaving high school and going to college is leaving behind all of your childhood friends, the people you've grown up with, you've experienced everything with, really the people you're closest to. But I've found that even in a short period of time, you'll make new you'll make new friends that really fill those gaps, and you'll feel the same way about them within the same amount of time. I met my best friend out of coincidence last year during college, and now we're currently room together. We pretty much do everything together. And yeah, I'd say one of the positive experiences just the social connections you can make here at college and how beneficial they are towards your well-being at school.
My answer is very similar to both of yours, actually. Um, I was very intimidated by the idea of like having to socialize so much, and I was really scared that I wouldn't meet people that I would connect with well. But it turned out to be honestly the easiest part of college. Um, I back home with a class of 12 people, I had one friend that I had been friends with since sixth grade, and I didn't know how the experience here would be. Um, but I made connections instantly. The people that I met during orientation, I'm still super close with. Like 8 months later, my best friend I met during orientation, and we're actually going to be rooming together next year too. So
I would say I didn't realize how flexible the schedule was and how much downtime you would have. I guess that's a positive thing. Like it is what you make of it. Like you get to make your own class schedule. It's not back to back to back like high school is. You're not in the building from 7 a.m. to 2 p.m. Like you could have classes anywhere from 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. and 50-minute periods or an hour, 15-minute periods. You can have time in the middle of the day to take a nap, to go get lunch, to go hang out with friends, to go to the gym. Like all you have all these options and you're literally like doing your own thing. There's no one like telling you that you have to do this and this. And so I would say the flexibility of the schedule and filling your free time with things that you enjoy rather than things you may be forced to do or in high school and like your small towns. So that was mine.
Okay, so some of you have mentioned being part of first generation or low income student groups. Do you have any tips for navigating sometimes the challenges that come with being on a campus with students coming from all sorts of backgrounds that sometimes vary from your own in various ways?
Think for me, it's just kind of accepting that people have had significantly different experiences than me, but we're at the same location. We both got here. We both are, yeah, we both have the qualifications to be here. We both belong here, and their experiences do not negate or diminish my own experiences. I am my own person. They are their own person. Yet we both belong at this university.
I agree with everything McKenna said. And to add on to that, coming to Colby, we're a very wealthy school. I believe our median average family income is about $240,000, which is way above where I'm from. So I felt very nervous coming here in making connections. Like I wouldn't be able to do all of the activities my friends are doing because I don't have the financial status to go and do what they're doing. But I find that going to a higher institution, a lot of these people aren't like the movies tend to make them out to be. They're more humble and willing to be your friend. They don't look at you in terms of your financial status. I think a lot of people tend to look at you as a person and truly just. So I think being yourself is like a really big part of fitting in at college.
very similar to Christopher's answer. Brown is what a lot of people would say is like kind of like I wouldn't necessarily call it an elitist institution, but there are a lot of people here from very high income backgrounds. Um, but just like McKenna said, everyone here, you belong here. Um, Yeah.
And if we have time for one more, as panelists, is there one thing that you feel that we haven't touched upon that would be important for our audience to hear tonight?
I think probably your experiences are unique and they are absolutely going to bolster you both in your application process and once you have gone onto campus. They're going to help you further yourself in your classes, when talking with professors, getting lab jobs, internships, with whatever you need. Your rural background is absolutely going to help you in your future.
I'd say my piece of advice would be to not be worried about traveling for college. Of course, I'm speaking as someone who has stayed in Maine, but I'm still 3.5 hours away from home, so I can't visit all the time with how busy my schedule is. But I think traveling away from home is really, it's an incredible experience that you shouldn't be afraid to embrace. It really puts you out of your comfort zone and into the real world and prepares you for the professional world after college.
So this is like so cliche. But be yourself. Like when you're in college, don't be afraid to just put yourself out there, join clubs, push yourself outside your comfort zone. College is meant for growth, so don't be afraid to just allow yourself to do that.
We kind of touched on it, but we kind of didn't. I would just say to like, I think I did touch on it actually, but like, don't be scared of change. It's okay if you don't make the right decision. You can always like pivot and transfer or change your major or join a new club if you didn't like the club you joined the first week of school, or you didn't like the team that you joined. Any of those little things, change is okay. And that starts with like going to school, maybe outside of your comfort zone. Um, but yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you all panelists so much for your insights and for taking this time during your busy schedule. Some of you are probably in the middle of midterms right now, so we really appreciate it. And thank you to all of our attendees for coming, for asking these questions. It really made for a great conversation today. So thank you all very much, and be on the lookout for future virtual panels like this, as well as aforementioned fly-in programs and other STARS programming to come.